Hi, everyone. So I'd like to talk a little bit about my grandmother. And anyone who knows me would know that my grandmother and I were close. It took immigration nearly 9 years ago for us to be separated physically, but not in heart. Just 9 months after we'd immigrated, so about 8 years ago, Mom arranged for both her gran and granddad to come and visit us, injured leg and all. So it's been quite a long journey. And that was out of her comfort zone even at the time. So I suppose it's easy for me to remember Gran as her healthy version. And I think that that's quite a privilege to be able to speak to her, remembering that version of her. I do want to acknowledge the help in her last years from her children, my mom, Lynn, Kevin, and Ronnie, and their spouses, my dad, obviously, Helen, and Bronwyn and Magda. So today I want to talk about a life well lived in terms of my grandmother. So, if I was to describe my grandmother, it would be a life consisting of exceptional little things. Granddad always used to say that if she decided to sell big things as well as she sold small things, they'd be rich. I'm sure he was trying to provide lots of hints there. As a child, I always felt valued. She'd let me count the coins from the shop every time I went there after school. And she told me it was a very important job. And of course, I believed her. She gave us all pocket money every week according to our age. I wasn't sure why, but yeah, there's inflation and all. And this was at one stage, I think something like one rand 22 cents, something like that. It was some obscure figures that Gran figured out. It wasn't a lot, but it meant I could buy chocolate whenever I want to, and Paul could play the odd arcade game at the local cafe. She never discriminated based on genetics. A child was a child in her mindset. There was always a cupboard of treats and good food to eat. No one was ever hungry in Gran's house. She measured and planned in a way that was effortless. So, always in the background. And, if we have to add up how she sewed all of this together, think of Granddad's music, think of our family events, think of her fashion shows and the gifts and the arrangements and the news and, of course, the pocket money. She was always supporting people and she was always pushing others to succeed. And her intentions were always sound. So it was always for making the other person be more. Gran taught me what an entrepreneur is. One year it was her birthday, I think. I'm not quite sure exactly the sequence of events. And I bought her this love card, a love box. And instead of it being a written card, it was basically a small wrapped box with a pre-printed card. I'd saved up my pocket money to do this. And she was really delighted by this thing. I could even say she was potentially deeply moved by it. And as a result, it wasn't too long till we ended up manufacturing these love boxes. When I say we, I do mean Gran did the selling and the ordering of the materials and the full project management. And I'm sure Granddad did a lot in the background too, much to his probably non-delight. And then I created these packages, and she would then sell them. And I got the full net profit, only the net, not the gross, the full net profit of the love boxes. And what this really shows me is how Gran really is an enabler. She took something small like that, and created an industry for me so that I had a savings account when I left school. And being this enabler, this exceptional small things that she does, creates so much more than just the little love box. Anyway, neither Gran nor I are big huggers or express love with elaborate words. But both of us knew what the foundation of these love boxes was. Gran's life started with a tough beginning, and she had her complexities, I suppose. I mean, Gran never felt like she was the pretty one in the family, and so she always focused on the things that she thought she was pretty good at. And one was her hair. She thought the big, thick black hair and her eyes, and I understand that, that shyness and the insecurities. And so she focused on what she felt that she was good at. And of course, I did think my grandmother was the pretty one. So early on, she took on the responsibility of, the burden of, let's say, her childhood. So she took it on freely. She looked after people, and she worked for others. She worked for other people, and working for Gran was a noble activity. It was something that uplifted a family and provided opportunity for a good and better life. And on this perspective, we both agree. Although I have to admit that some of her methods are somewhat unconventional. She managed to arrange a job for me at Factory Fashions. The only challenge was I was 14 and not of legal age to work. But because she was such a great salesperson, she managed to avoid the age and just talk about my competency and how I'd worked in her shop. And to be fair, I wasn't a great salesperson. I was pretty introverted, and having to talk to a whole bunch of people really didn't spin my wheels. And an opportunity arose when one of the admin staff couldn't do the data capturing, and so I did the data capturing instead. And what eventuated out of that was that I really enjoyed this, and eventually started pursuing technology in a much greater way. But I remember the boss staring at me and looking at me and going, "Are you sure you're 16?" Obviously, a fact that I never knew was a requirement. But again, identified that Gran was building the opportunity for me. Her consistency in exceptional small things extended beyond her children, her grandchildren, into her great-grandchildren, and even into the acquired family. So every Wednesday we would visit Gran, even though both Gran and Granddad were there. It was called Granny's Day. And initially she did this to help me as a young working mom, to kind of share time with the kids and give them something to do. And so whenever they arrived, they would get their jelly, they would learn how to wash their hands, they would have a good meal, and there was always activities for them to do. And at the end of the day, I would go and fetch the kids, but first we would, I'd bring her a slice of some cake, some stock for the cupboard, and a conversation. And this was the trade that we had. And we understood this trade as how it works, and Gran loved news. She loved hearing all types of news. Any news was good news. She loved having a schedule. She loved having a to-do list, and mostly she liked helping other people. Granddad obviously was a key component in getting her to, help other people. But, that was part of their relationship and how they worked together. She always said, "You don't give up on family." And I believe that sums up her character pretty well. It's fair to say, sorry, that I've admired my grandmother, potentially admire her more than I love her. What I really liked about her is her pragmatic point of view in life. It doesn't mince it with fancy things. Her commitment, her loyalty, her straight talk, her hard work, and her gracefulness, which she consistently carried throughout her life. And although my grandmother and I were very different people in many ways, I can say that she's probably the person I understood the most and that most understood me. So I want to say goodbye with a poem that started our love box journey. This is a very special gift that you will never see. The reason that it's so special is that it's just for you, from me. Whenever you're feeling lonely or ever feeling blue, you only have to hold this gift and know I think of you. You can never unwrap it. Please leave the ribbon tied. Just hold the box close to your heart. It's filled with love inside. Thank you.